My name is Alex Ross, and I am happy to take part in this MutuallyMann discussion of Thomas Mann's great story from 1930, Mario and the Magician, under the auspices of the Thomas Mann House in Los Angeles. The most obvious way to approach this story is as a political allegory, as an allegory of the powers of a charismatic politician, a charismatic dictator to manipulate a crowd and to unleash terrible energies in them. Mussolini was the chief example in this period, but Mann was also thinking very much of Adolf Hitler, whose destructive potential he recognized very early on, and there are various clues that point in Hitler's direction, including Cipolla, the magician's habit of carrying a riding whip, and this was also an affectation of Hitler's. But there's another layer, there's always another layer with Mann, and we can also see this story as an allegory of art and the artist. The danger of art was one of Thomas Mann's great themes, the power of art to release unsuspected and sometimes grotesque and destructive energies in people, not just to be an emanation from another world, a sphere of pure activity. And the word that points us in that direction is the word magician in the title, Zauberer. An ambiguous word in German. It can mean both an ordinary magician, practitioner of tricks, as well as a wizard, a sorcerer, someone with supernatural capacities in a legend and in a work of fiction. And the word Zauberer would have had a particular history for Thomas Mann, having to do with the relationship between the composer Richard Wagner and the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. When Nietzsche broke with Wagner after the premiere of The Ring of the Nibelung in 1876, he began referring to Wagner as a Zauberer, as a magician, someone who was up to tricks, up to no good, creating illusions, creating phantasmagoria, which put people under its spell. He calls Wagner der alte Zauberer, the old magician, in his correspondence. And he was thinking in particular of the character of Klingsor, the sorcerer in Parsifal, who summons the illusion of the magic garden of flower maidens in Parsifal, Wagner's final opera. And then in Also sprach Zarathustra, Nietzsche introduces the character of the magician, der Zauberer, who hypnotizes everyone with his pseudo-religious mumbo-jumbo, and then is exposed as a charlatan by Zarathustra and confesses his falsity, his manipulativeness to Zarathustra. This is really a fantasy on Nietzsche's part of a confession that he wishes he could have elicited from Wagner himself. And Mann proceeded to take up this theme of magic and the magician in many of his works, especially The Magic Mountain, where there's a fascinating, rich discussion of the mesmerizing powers of music. And Mann speaks there of a Seelenzauberkünstler, a conjurer of souls. There's no doubt, we know from internal evidence, that he was thinking here in particular of Wagner and Nietzsche's critique of Wagner, and it's for that reason that the great Thomas Mann scholar Hans Rudolf Faget titled his study of Mann and music Seelenzauber. And so the character of Cipolla, the magician, this sinister trickster, who by the end of the story becomes something much more uncanny, almost supernatural, I think is a symbol of the artist. He is, in his way, an artist, and with him comes this danger of energies being unleashed that cannot be controlled. Mann may well have been thinking of Wagner. He may have been thinking of himself and accusing himself of engaging in such manipulations in his work. But it's undoubtedly a theme, a motif, which adds another layer to this marvelous and chilling story.